For almost 80 years, the US dollar ruled the world like a king, controlling trade, powering sanctions, and shaping global finance. But now, in 2025, that crown is slipping. BRICS, a bloc that represents more than half of humanity, is fighting back with local currencies, new payment systems, and even plans for a shared money of their own. And to make things worse, Trump has just launched massive tariffs on India and Brazil, pushing this financial war into dangerous territory. The question is, can the dollar survive this attack? Or are we watching the birth of a new global order? Stay tuned. And if you want to keep uncovering the truth behind these historic shifts, make sure you subscribe, because what's coming next will shock everyone. In 1944, the world made a decision that would change history. The US dollar became the foundation of the global financial system, trusted as the safe currency of trade, power, and stability. For decades, it wasn't just money. It was a weapon, a shield, and a tool that gave America unmatched influence over the world economy. But now, after almost 80 years, that dominance is facing its most serious challenge. In 2025, the BRICS nations, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, and their expanding circle of allies, have declared what many are calling a financial war on the dollar. And with President Trump pushing tariffs of up to 100% on some of these countries, this confrontation is no longer theory. It's real. It's happening. And the outcome could reshape how every person, every business, and every government deals with money. To understand the gravity of this, we first need to look at what BRICS actually represents. It's not just a group of random countries. It's a bloc that now includes some of the fastest-growing economies, together making up more than half of the world's population and nearly half of global GDP. China has transformed itself into the world's factory. India is becoming a tech and manufacturing powerhouse. Brazil is rising beyond commodities into industry and services. Russia remains energy-rich, and South Africa still plays a crucial role in resources. One by one, these nations have been growing, and now, together, they are challenging the financial system that the U.S. has dominated for nearly a century. For years, BRICS leaders have been talking about reducing reliance on the dollar. But talk has now turned into action. Trade between BRICS countries is increasingly being done in local currencies instead of dollars. China's yuan has overtaken the dollar in its overseas transactions for the first time in history. Brazil is signing massive deals with Chinese companies to sell electric cars and other products using yuan instead of dollars. Banks across Asia, Latin America, and the Middle East are reporting record increases in local currency settlements. This isn't just symbolic. Every trade that bypasses the dollar chips away at its dominance. What has pushed this movement into overdrive is Washington's own policies. The U.S. used the dollar as a weapon against Russia by cutting it out of the global financial system through sanctions. That sent a very clear message to the rest of the world. If America doesn't like your politics, it can shut off your access to the financial lifeline. Countries saw this and realized they needed an escape route. They began accelerating the idea of alternative payment systems, shared currencies, and tighter financial cooperation to protect themselves from American leverage. And now, with Trump back in office, the battle has turned aggressive. By slapping massive tariffs on Indian and Brazilian exports, sometimes 50% or higher, he is trying to pressure these nations into slowing down their anti-dollar campaign. But instead of breaking them apart, it's pulling them closer together. India and Brazil are openly discussing retaliating, refusing to buy American weapons, strengthening trade within BRICS, and even speeding up plans for a shared currency. Even China and India, longtime rivals, are setting aside differences to coordinate more closely in economic matters, something few thought possible. The danger for the U.S. is not just about pride or symbolism. The dollar's dominance has given America massive benefits. It keeps borrowing costs lower, imports cheaper, and sanctions powerful. If BRICS succeeds in cutting that dominance, the U.S. will face higher interest rates, weaker control over global finance, and reduced power to punish countries with sanctions. Already, foreign ownership of U.S. debt has fallen to around 30%, and if that trend continues, Washington will need to pay higher rates just to convince investors to hold its bonds. For everyday Americans, that means higher mortgage rates, higher credit card costs, and a more expensive lifestyle overall. The impact spreads beyond money. If sanctions lose their bite, America's geopolitical influence shrinks. Countries that once feared economic punishment may feel freer to act against U.S. interests. The balance of global power could shift toward a multipolar world, where BRICS nations set their own rules. At the end of all this, one thing becomes clear. The world is no longer blindly following the dollar, and BRICS has made that very obvious. The cracks in America's financial dominance are now too big to ignore, and every tariff, every new trade agreement, every move toward local currencies pushes us closer to a turning point. Maybe the dollar will fight back and survive. Maybe it will slowly lose its crown. But either way, we are entering uncharted territory. What happens next will not just be numbers on a screen. It will be the reality that shapes our daily lives. Will we wake up to a future still ruled by the dollar? Or to a new order where BRICS calls the shots? That's the question we'll be asking again and again. So stay with us and don't forget to subscribe, because the story is only just beginning.